Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome back to our 7-star in-depth review for Marvel Strike Force. Now, tonight we have a look at a character that I've been lucky enough to play around with a fair bit on the test centre for the last week. Maxed out, took her through various different nodes like Blitz, Arena and Raids and so on, so we can see how she actually performs in prep for this video. Now the character of course is Storm, so we've got another X-Men character and that's fantastic. In the video we'll start off anyway with a general overview that includes how you unlock her and also her tags. We'll then have a look at her stats. Next up it's the abilities. We then have a look at the synergies, and finishing up we see where she places the all important tier list. So we'll start off anyway with the general overview. Storm then is a character that it's very clear when her kit has been built that the primary focus of it has actually been how she performs in raid, and that's down to her charge system and the fact that the charges actually persist over various different nodes, and that is something we will look at a lot more when we do get into the abilities. Now when we look at her tags anyway, she is Hero, Global, Mutant, Controller and X-Men. So being a controller she can hand out assists, she can do stuns and slows and so on. X-Men and Mutant is a tag that's only get more important as time goes on. In regards to unlocking her, it's a campaign event similar to the Miss Marvel or Scarlet Witch event we've got there now. Next up, let's have a look at our stats. When we look at her offensive stats here, then they are exceptionally high for a controller class, but the reason for that is because 9 times out of 10, if not more, you'll actually only be using the basic on her due to the way she's set up. So this in a way is to compensate for the fact that you'll mainly be using that skill. Now if we look at the stats anyway, damage is A, that's in the region of 7,300, which is pretty incredible for a controller class. Her speed is very respectable, that's up at 117. Her focus is A, which gives her a better chance to apply any debuffs. Also from an offensive perspective, she can actually apply speed up and assist now to X-Men or X-Force allies. And then lastly, just as a nice point of interest, on her ultimate, if you fully charge her, she can do a whopping 1900 damage, and it really is pretty incredible. And if you follow the channel, you've probably already seen the video I've put up for that. If you've not, check back a few videos. It's the one with the big not clickbait sign on the thumbnail, and that's the one that shows that off there now. Next up anyway, let's have a look at her defensive stats. Defense wise then, she really doesn't do great at all, and she doesn't have any additional parts of her kit to prop up her survivability. Her health is way down at E, her armour is F, and her resistance is also D, so there's a good chance she'll be wiped out regularly. Now on that note, one thing I will mention is Storm's all about building up her stacks of charge. I have tested it, and when she's defeated in a raid and you revive her through medkits, she will still retain her stacks of charge. So even though she's really pretty squishy, this isn't a huge issue with her, because if you're running through a raid, the worst thing that happens if she gets wiped is you need to simply use some medkits rather than you're losing all your stacks there. Now with the stats covered anyway, let's have a look at her abilities. For this abilities section then, I'll show off the tooltip of all the skills maxed out, and then I'll let you know how high you actually want to take each of the individual skills. Now the first one we look at is a passive called Ride the Wind. This is really nice with an X-Men orientated team. So it's on turn 50% chance to apply speed up to X-Men or X-Force allies, and 50% chance to grant assist now to self or a random X-Men or X-Force ally on each X-Men or X-Force ally's turn. So you want to max this one out if you're running an X-Men themed team. I will mention when it comes to the assist, which is really nice, it doesn't actually build stacks of charge for her unfortunately at the moment. Hopefully that will change. For the basic then, we have a skill called Shock and Blow, and this is one you will be using 90% of the time on Storm, and for that reason you want to max it out at level 7. Now with this, you attack the primary target for 200% damage, and if charged in addition you attack adjacent targets for 150% damage. Now the important aspect of this, and it's really what Storm's kit is all built round, is that when you use this you gain +1 charged up to a maximum of 20. When we look at the special and ultimate, they're actually buffed based on the number of charges you have. Now, the charges only persist in raids, so you can't use it in campaign or blitz or arena and stack the charges or anything like that. So raid is the main mode that she's set up for, and just to confirm that you won't gain any charges through assists, however you do gain them through counter from Cable for example, and you don't lose charges upon death either. When we look at the special here, we can really see where our charges come into play. Now, this particular special, it's maxed out at level 6 at the moment. That's the maximum we're able to view in game. This is called Ice Storm. It's 8 turns to charge. Now, with this, you attack all targets for 150% damage with a 50% chance to apply slow to each target. Now, with this particular skill, when it's charged, the chance to apply slow is increased by 20% per charged. So you need 3 charges to give yourself the 110% chance. Additionally, a 10% chance to apply stun to each target, and chance to apply is increased by 10% per charge. So 10 charges will give you a 100% chance to stun the entire enemy team. After you use this, you then lose all your stacks of charge. Now, also with this, the attack is 100% extra focus and cannot be dodged. Now, dodged works the same as evade as well, so if the character's got evade, you will still hit them with this, and due to our high focus and the extra 100% focus, is an exceptionally low chance the enemy will be able to resist this. Now, I would say you want to take this up to level 5, because at level 5 you can get the 100% of the slow with 3 charges, because what's happening is you're losing 10% chance per slow from level 5 to level 6, but you're getting 110% chance anyway with the 3 charges. So take this one to level 5. Now, I will mention before we look at the ultimate that this skill, because it uses all your charges like the ultimate, is actually in direct competition with it, and it suffers a little bit as a result of that. For the ultimate, we have a skill here called Storm of the Century. Now, it takes a whopping 10 turns to charge. This will be your boss killer. Now, it does come fully charged, but you will never use this at the start of a fight, because if you do, all you'll simply do is do 100% damage to the enemies. Pretty rubbish. Now, if you charge it up, damage is increased by 90% per charged, then you lose charge. Now, this tooltip, like the last skill, is at level 6. I would imagine probably at level 7 it'll go up to a flat 100% per charged. Now, if you get your full 20 charges, which you would get in raids for doing the various different nodes, just using purely your basic, can't use that special unfortunately, but if you were to do that, then you would actually do an incredible 1900% damage, and when she is maxed out at star level 7 and gear tier 12, that's roughly 260,000 damage she does over an AoE, and that's at level 6, and you would want to take this skill as high as you possibly can. Now, I'll just mention with this skill as well, with it being as powerful it is and it requiring all the charges, in a way it unfortunately kills off any use of the special in regards to the charging element, because you might use the special at the start of a fight when you don't have any charges, but there's no way you would actually spend your time charging up the special to fire it off and slow and stun the enemy, when you can instead just use this to completely annihilate the enemy and take them out altogether. So this skill particular here, as mentioned, to take this one up to level 6. Now, with all the abilities covered, let's have a look at the synergies. When we look at characters she can work well with, the most obvious ones we start off with, of course, would be X-Men and also X-Force characters, due to the passive where she can apply speed up or gain assists now as well. So you've got Deadpool, Wolverine, and you've also got Cable as well. Now, Cable can work particularly well because he has a chance to apply counter to another ally or a mutant. If he applies it to Storm and she counters, then she does actually gain a charge with that. However, I will mention that she doesn't gain a charge when she gets assist now. Hopefully that will be fixed in time. Now, other characters that can work very well are tied in with the ultimate and its huge 1900% damage. So you could go for defense down in Spider-Man and then offense up via Merc Lieutenant or Kingpin to absolutely nuke the enemy. Finally, if you ran with the likes of Drax, that could be helpful because she is exceptionally squishy. She takes a long time to get going, so you really need to have someone there to protect her. Now, next up, let's have a look at the characters you want to avoid. When we look at characters you want to avoid, these would be characters that can take advantage of how squishy she is and knock her out before she has a chance to fire that ultimate off or even build it up. Now, top of the list you would have Star-Lord. He acts exceptionally quickly and the chances are he could probably take her out on the first turn with his ultimate. Next up we have Gamora, Korath and Daredevil. They all attack faster than a vast majority of characters in the game and have very hard hitting first turn attacks. Deadpool could be a problem as well due to the ignoring the taunt. If her health is low then he'll just home in on her and wipe her out. Finally, these characters wouldn't be a massive problem. These are more characters you have to be careful around, and it would include Mordo, Hawkeye and any other characters that can add blind, because at ultimate you can work your charges all the way up over multiple matches. If you're not concentrating and you're blinded when you hit it, I've tested this, it will actually miss and that would be a massive waste, so that is something just to be aware of there. Now with that covered, let's have a look and see where she places on the tier list. So with recent character releases in the game and actually with recent reworks to characters, we've seen them come out exceptionally strong. Now Storm is the first character to actually buck this trend. She is very strong in one aspect, but overall when you look at her kit and what she can contribute to various different modes, she's really not a strong character at all. Now we'll cover her positives first anyway. You've got the fact that she does work very well in an X-Men theme team or an X-Force theme team due to that passive. She's got a very respectable attack speed and also she does have nice damage stats. However, these are pulled down by the fact that she'll be using her basic most of the time, and in the right situation, again as you've seen on the channel, she can be incredible. She can almost wipe out Ultimus on the Ultimus 6 raid if you've got the defense down on him and the offense up. I think he has 300,000 health and she can do her AoE for a whopping 260,000 damage. It really is incredible. Now the problem with her is she's just too incredibly niche. She's a character that's been built with raids in mind, but it seems like some of the other modes to an extent have been neglected. You won't really be using her in Blitz, you won't use her in Arena, I doubt you'll use her in Story, so it means it's just purely raids that you will be using her in. Now, with there being as many characters in the game as it is to actually level, when we're leveling a character, we want to make sure that character can add value in as many modes as possible. You look at their tags and you ask yourself, can they help me out in the Cosmic Campaign? Will they fit into one of my A or B Blitz teams? And that will be the character type that you'll then invest all your hard resources into, and Storm's just not like that at all. It's a real pity because Storm for me is a flagship character of the X-Men franchise and she's just too niche. As mentioned, I do like the whole idea of what they've done, but I feel that we need to have her skills activating quicker and we need to have her gaining charges easier. So for example, if the assist issue was fixed, she could gain the charges a bit quicker and that would maybe help out, so we could use our special and our ultimate more often than we can actually at the moment. So with all that in mind there, I would say that at the moment she's actually at a low level 3 character, so she's sitting down there with Punisher and Hulk. With synergies with the X-Men team, I would say she would probably move up to a mid level 3 character. In time, I do imagine we'll probably get some really nice synergies with other X-Men characters that come. You might even have characters that can provide her with additional charges, that would be great, and we'll see her go even higher. But for now, low level 3, a character that I wouldn't really focus your resources on unless you're a huge X-Men fan. So let me know in the comments below as always what you think of the rating, how you're getting on in regards to unlocking Storm, and as always, thanks for tuning in and I'll see you all again soon.